Hi everyone, it's Gina from Gina K Designs and your host of StampTV. And today on StampTV, I'm going to show you an elegant card project that you can do quickly and easily using the new Sunshine and Love StampTV kit. Let me show you the tools and products you need to make these cards. First, you're going to need some ink. And I've got 3 ink combinations that I'm going to use in my cards today. I'm going to be using Innocent Pink and Dusty Rose. I'm going to be using sweet corn and sweet mango. I'm going to be using Tranquil Teal and Sea Glass. And then I've got some of the Amalgam ink. I'm going to use that for my greeting. And some VersaMark ink because we're going to do some embossing. Now I have 6 sponge daubers here, and the sponge daubers are great because you can wash them out and reuse them over and over again. So I started using a couple of them last night in a Facebook Live that my daughter Rena and I did together, and I've got these other ones for my other color combinations. You're also going to need some acrylic blocks, and I've put these stamps on a few acrylic blocks here. These are the ones I'm going to use for the card today. Then you're going to need an embossing magic pad, or you can use the EK Success tool. That is the one that has a brush on the end. This removes static and any oil that gets on the surface of your card, so your embossing powder only sticks to what you want. I'm using some white embossing powder. I have mine in one of these Glade containers. I'm sorry, Glad, not Glade, Gladware containers. And then I'm also going to be using some masking paper. And this masking paper is by Inkadinkadoo. And it comes in sheets, and I'm going to use at least 1 sheet of it today. I'm also going to use my mini Misti. And I'm going to be using a paper cutter and my heat tool. And then I've got 2 sets of stamps here, and both of these stamps came from the Sunshine and Love StampTV kit. I'm going to be using just this flower, this layer of the daisy flower. I'm not going to be using the solid daisies. I'm not going to be using stems, leaves, or centers. Just this kind of sketchy part. So I have those 3 already here on acrylic blocks. Then I'm also going to be using some greetings from the Rose Peony set. So we'll kind of figure that out as we go along, which ones we want to use. So to begin, I should show you the cardstock too. The cardstock that I'm using is I'm going to use some sweet corn. If you want to swap out the colors for colors in the kit, you can use the Wild Dandelion and use Wild Dandelion ink instead. I'm using some Dusty Rose here. I'm also going to be using some Sea Glass, and then I've got some black cardstock cut out, and I've got some white pieces. I also have my tidy towel to clean up my stamps, and I've got some Thermoweb sticky dot adhesive, which is my favorite. Now I am going to be using a die here too, and this die I got when I purchased a little miniature Sizzix die cutting machine, and this heart die was in there as part of the bundle. But you can use any heart die, you can use any shape die, something that you have in your collection, or if you want to do a heart, you can just fold your masking paper in half and just cut around into a heart shape. So I'm just using that because it was there and it's convenient. So to begin, I'm going to take some of this masking paper and I'm going to cut it down. I'm going to cut a little strip of it here, like that. And then I'm going to place that over the corner of my card. So to get the masking paper open, you just want to fold it, and then you'll see the blue will kind of separate from the white. It's not super easy to peel apart, and my lighting in here is great from the front, but not as good overhead. So let me try another corner here. There we go. All right. And then I want to cover this so that if I pick a greeting like this, my masking paper is going to cover that greeting. So I'm going to go about, I'll turn that over, it's got a little spot on it. I'm going to go about here. Now I can see through that, so I can check to make sure my greeting's going to make it, and it looks like it is going to make it. So when you do this yourself, you're going to be able to see through it. So I'm going to lay that down here, and I'll just tack it down here on my mat, so that you can see, you can probably see it now that you can see through the masking paper because it's so thin. So you can see my greeting is going to fit in that area. Okay, my next step is going to be to use the embossing magic pad just to remove any dirt and debris and oil and anything that's on there that might grab ink or grab embossing powder. And I'm going to start with my largest sketched daisy from the layered daisy set. And I'm going to stamp that right about here in the middle. Then I'm going to stamp a few more of those going in different directions, stamping them off the paper. I like to do the big ones in the corners. And I'll do one down here. And you can see I'm going onto the masking paper, and that's just fine. That's what you want to do. Now I'm going to use the smaller daisy, and I'm going to try to fit in between there. Now it's a little difficult to see where you've placed your daisies unless you check it from a side angle, which is what I'm doing. When I look at the side angle, I can see where there are daisies and where there aren't daisies. And if a couple of them overlap, that won't be the end of the world. Put one up here, just a little bit. And I'll put one over here. Okay. So those are the only two stamps I'm going to use for this card project. Now I'm going to use my embossing powder. I'm going to pick this up gently with the masking paper still attached, and I'm going to sprinkle some embossing powder all over the cardstock. Okay, so I'm going to blow away the excess, and if there's anywhere you don't want it to be, you can just brush it away with a little brush. But remember, with these daisies, there are some very spotty parts, like here and here, so it may look like stray embossing powder, but it actually isn't. It's a part of the stamp. So now I'm going to heat up my tool for just a second to get it nice and hot, and I am going to emboss these flowers. And I'm using white embossing powder, but you can use clear embossing powder if you prefer. You're going to get the same look. I just happen to have a large amount of white embossing powder in a container, so it makes it easier for me. Okay. Now, if you want, you can replace the masking paper by flipping it over to the other side, but you don't really have to do that. You can just press down on it all along and it'll go right back down again. Now my next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some of the sweet mango ink, and I'm going to ink up my sponge dauber, and then I'm going to start in the center of the daisy to bring it out. You see how that's bringing that design out? Just kind of doing just the big ones. Well, actually I'm doing all of them, but just the centers. Like that. Then I'm going to go back with my sweet corn ink, and I'm going to blend all the rest of it, make it nice and vibrant. Can reload. Now, if you feel like you want more of the sweet mango in there, you can always go back and reload a little bit on your sponge dauber to bring some of that out. That is a beautiful, warm, sunny card. Okay. Now, the next thing is to grab a piece of paper towel, and I've got a roll here that I'm going to use, and I'm just going to wipe over all the daisies to remove any excess ink that might be on them. Okay, and now I can reveal what's underneath. There is a perfect little opening for my greeting. Now you can always go back and use the other side for a different card, so you don't have to throw that masking paper away. I'm just going to clean up my work surface here with my tidy towel and dry it. And then I'm going to get my Misti. So now it's time to add the greeting to this this little card. So I'll back up just a hair so that you can see more. All right, now I'm going to lay this in the mini Misti. And you can use your original Misti for this, of course. And then I'm going to see which greeting do I like. Warm wishes, forever and always, birthday wishes. I think I'm going to use forever and always on this card because I think this would make a beautiful wedding card. And I have a couple weddings coming up in the future, so I want to make sure that I am ready. All right, so we'll pick that up. This is the very first time I'm stamping this greeting, so we'll hope for the best. I'm going to use the Amalgam ink because the Amalgam ink gives you a nice crisp image, and it's very similar to the VersaFine ink, but it dries a little bit more quickly. There we go. Now, if I want that even blacker, I can go back a second time, but I think that's looking pretty good. Maybe I will do it one more time. We'll see. It's always the very first time you stamp a stamp. There we go. Okay. Forever and always. So I'm going to put that aside and give that VersaMark, that Amalgam ink, a chance to completely dry before I play with it. And I'm going to clean this stamp off using the tidy towel. There we go. You can see that that really cleans off pretty well. It leaves a little haze, but certainly not a black stain, so you can see right through it still. Okay. So I'll put that stamp back on the stamp sheet, and then we're going to do a different design. So the next one I want to do is I want to do that heart one. So I've taken that heart die, and I have cut out a heart out of that same masking paper that we used last time. So I'm going to peel this heart, and then I'm going to place the heart. You can put it anywhere you want on your card. I'm going to put it right down here, like this. Make sure it's straight. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use my embossing magic pad, and I'm going to stamp all of these pretty daisies all over. Now I'm going to definitely stamp one onto the heart, like there. And we'll just randomly add these everywhere. We'll add one down here. And you can always see it, if you're having trouble, you can always see it a little bit by turning it. You'll be able to see where your VersaMark is so you don't stamp over something that you already stamped. Okay. Now I'm going to use the smaller flower and fill in a little bit. I'll do one down here. And I'll do one over here. I'm going to turn it so I can see. Do a little bit of one up here. And I'll do one right here. That looks pretty good and pretty full. Okay, so now once again, I'm going to use that embossing powder. Sprinkle that all over my card. And I can see where the powder is. That's why I was able to put my finger in the center there. I'm not worried about what happens on the heart. All right. So now I can see I have one more little space there that I would really like to fill in. So I'm going to use that little flower. And I'm going to stamp it right in there. And then I'm going to go back and put embossing powder back over that and where I smeared it. There we go. Perfect. Okay. All right. So we're going to have a little messed up spot. So I'm going to take a brush here. Make sure I don't have any color on it. that has a little color on it. Find a different brush. And I'm just going to brush away some of that. Okay, there we go. All right, so now it's time to emboss. All right. Now again, you can see that masking paper kind of lifting, but you're going to be able to press that right back down again. Okay, so that looks completely embossed. Now I'm going to press the heart back down. There we go. And I think I'm going to use pinks for this one. So I'm going to start with the Dusty Rose. Let's pull the zoom in a bit so you can see it better. There we go. Got a little Dusty Rose here. And I'm going to swirl that onto the flower. Oh, that's a pretty color. I love the Dusty Rose. Okay. It's so light and delicate. And then I'm going to go back over it with some Innocent Pink, which is in that same vein. It's a very pale pink, but it's got a little bit of the peach in it like the Dusty Rose does. This is such a fun technique, and it's so easy. You can see where I smeared that with my finger, but still looks good. Not too worried. And then I'm going to go back with the Dusty Rose and add some depth back in around the flowers to really bring them out. And then I'm also going to just take a little bit of that Dusty Rose, starting in the heart and just kind of going around the outside of the heart a little bit, just to accentuate the line of the heart. All right. So there are my two pink colors. Once again, I'm going to need a piece of paper towel because I want to wipe away any of the color that is laying on top of that embossing powder. And that brings out more of the white in the daisies. Okay. And this one, now I'm ready to peel, hoping for the best. Oh yeah. There we go. So there's my heart, and that gives me room for a greeting, and I think the greeting I'm going to use is the thank you, because I feel like it's shaped kind of like the heart. So let's get that mini Misti out again. And put the thank you right in there. And I'm going to stamp this one twice again with the Amalgam ink, because these are brand new stamps. Okay, it's all in place. I'll give it one more layer. There we go. And there is the thank you. So I'm going to put that one aside, and we're going to do one last layout. And I won't be needing this thank you. Okay, so for my last layout, I'm going to take that other piece of masking paper, and I want to make sure this is the same size. So this is a little short. So I'll save this piece of masking paper for another project, and I'm going to take a new one because I need it to be longer than the card. So let's cut this down to a little over 5 inches since my card is 5 inches. And then I'm going to do, let's see here, I'm going to do a 2-inch strip. Okay. So now I'm going to take that 2-inch strip, and again I'm going to struggle here with the masking paper. There we go. And I'm going to lay that as straight as I can. That doesn't look very straight. I don't think I cut it really straight, but that'll look pretty good. Okay. That looks pretty straight. Nah. All right, let's try this. Let me look at it from a different angle while I put it down. Use this side here. Okay, that'll be good. Okay, now, once again, I'm going to ink up these stamps. First, I'm going to use my embossing magic pad. Can't wait to see this next color combination. I'm going to ink up these stamps. And I'm going to do these a little bit more organized. Like that. And then I'm going to do this small one in there. Okay. Now I'm going to take the embossing powder again and use the embossing powder over that area. Looking good. Again, I'm going to hold that down and get my embossing tool, my heat tool, and heat that up. I love this part of the stamp, and although I really love layering, and the layering is so fun to do, it's fun to have another way to do this more quickly where you're not worrying about lining up layers. Okay, and then we'll put that back down there. Okay. Now we're going to start with the Tranquil Teal, and we'll start in the center. They're so pretty. And then a little bit of sea glass. I love the way these colors look together. Such a nice complement. And then I'm going to deepen up the Tranquil Teal a little bit. And go back over and blend that out a little with my sea glass sponge. Okay. Looking good. Now, clean up the daisies. You can see that just comes off onto your paper towel. So it is worth doing, because then you won't smear it onto your project later when you're touching it. All right. And now we will peel. Oh, that's pretty. All right. Let me clean up the desk area here. And then I will get my mini Misti out. And now we're going to pick a greeting for this. And I think that we could use the happy anniversary greeting on this one. We'll do this down at the bottom. Make sure that's all in place. Put that right there. What's nice about these hand-lettered style greetings is if they're a little crooked, it doesn't even matter because they're not very straight to begin with. So I'm going to ink that up with Amalgam ink. They're just very frilly and kind of all over the place. We'll ink that again. Whenever you use a stamp for the first time, you might have some of that, but once you get it conditioned a little bit, it'll work perfectly every time. There we go. Happy anniversary. Okay, so I'm going to put that one aside. And I want to show you the one we did last night on our Facebook Live. Rena and I were together and we did a Facebook Live. So we did one that was similar to the Forever and Always, but we used the Warm Wishes instead. So I'm going to mount these together. Get my thermoweb tape. And these are going to go onto a piece of black onyx. Get that layered. Pretty close. And then this one is going to go on to some sweet corn. Oh, I love that combination. That's a hit. All right, and then we'll do the thank you one. And we'll put that one onto a Dusty Rose card base. I like that too. All right. And then the final one, we'll do a fancy opening. We'll do a sideway type of opening. Sideways. And we'll do that one in this orientation where it can open that way. I don't do a lot of cards like that, but a couple people have sent me cards that open this way, and I really like it. So I thought I'd give it a try in this video. So this one will open this way. Then you've got room if you wanted to tape a check in there for a wedding or for a gift. You have plenty of room to write. So there are 3 different versions of today's technique. I hope you've enjoyed today's StampTV video. Stay tuned to StampTV for more projects featuring the new Sunshine and Love StampTV kit, and thanks so much for watching.